Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. This is our Simple Abundance year with Sarah von Breathnach and her book Simple Abundance. I hope you're doing well, and it is a very hot day today, but I'm pretty comfortable here. I'm under my umbrella on the patio, and I wanted to set up the cameras so that you could see the bird feeders this time. We had a request from a past video, so maybe we'll have some bird friends coming in the background as I'm talking. Today is July 20th, and July 20th, 2020. I saw something online too about tonight at 8:20. That will be military time 2020, and then I don't know how 7:20 would also become 2020, but it was this big long sequence of 2020 that only happens once ever. So tonight at 8:20, I guess, is that momentous moment. Anyway, so back to what the July 20th entry is. It's called True North. And I mentioned to you guys, I really like this one. I think there's so many things in this one that make you think. So first of all, when you think of True North, probably think of the North Star, right? Yeah. And I think after thinking about this one today, I'm going to make a point tonight to go and look for the North Star. You know where it is, right? It's on the Little Dipper. If you need to look it up online, you can. But it is this point in the sky that stays constant, whether, wherever we are and however the Earth is spinning, that's always there. So that's a really neat concept in and of itself. So if we tie that into the journey of our lives and we think about, there's so many ways, if you Google the term True North, there's so many ways you can think about this. That your true north could be the final destination that you're moving to in your life, or a goal, or the thing that you want. And I think there's even a few books called Finding True North and other books that celebrate this concept of True North. What comes to your mind when you think about that? Or have you ever thought about it? I'll read some of the things from the book. She's got a quote here from Ursula Le Guin, an American science fiction fantasy author. I actually know who that is. You know how I know who that is? I love the movie The Jane Austen Book Club, and that author is mentioned in it because there's one man in the book club and he's trying to get one of the female members of the group to give science fiction a chance, and so he loans her some books from Ursula Le Guin. And actually, because of that movie, I got one of Ursula's books on audio and listened to it, I think last year. And it was interesting. It was really sort of out there. I didn't, want to continue reading the rest of the series from it. But it was interesting, kept my interest. It's actually kind of a short story, very futuristic, and listening to it on audio made it even more interesting too, with there were basically two characters in it. Anyway, that aside, I know who that is. And so Ursula makes a really profound statement in saying, it's good to have an end to journey towards, but it is the journey that matters in the end. How about that, right? Yeah, Sarah goes on to talk about that in this entry, about how life is not a destination, right? It's really the journey that matters. And again, to pull from my favorite Abraham Hicks teachings, Abraham's always telling us, if you're happy along the way, then that's the whole thing. You want what you want because you want to feel better. But if you feel better along the way, then you're on your way. You're just getting ready to be ready for that thing that's at the end, if you want to call it the North Star. We have a blue jay friend. Sarah says, I used to believe that happiness could only be found after arriving at my heart's destination. Explorers call this, quote, true north, the fixed point in the sky that never changes in a spinning world. For me, true north was enough success to ensure that there was plenty of money to control my own creative destiny that would allow me also the luxury to pursue my passions. I think we can all probably relate to that. If you have enough money to live and do what you really want, that I can relate to that being of her true north. She goes on to say, now that I have spent far longer on the road from here to there than I could have ever imagined when the adventure began, I have come to an awakening. I've also controlled my own creative destiny, though not always its course. I simply didn't have the common sense to realize it until now. But more to the point, I've learned that the spirit of our journey is as important, perhaps even more important, than the arrival at our destination. In order for us to realize genuine happiness, we must be willing to court contentment every step of the way. For after all, the journey is really all that most of us will ever know, day in and day out. The journey is real life. What do you think about that? That one really makes me think. And that's a lot of why the Simple Abundance Path, bringing more joy, harmony, beauty, order, simplicity, and gratitude into your life, really can make the journey more pleasurable and meaningful. And there she was with that contentment again. We talked in a few entries about contentment and how if you can be content, then it's a lot better than being discontent about the fact that you don't have whatever you want yet, right? So if you're constantly thinking about that true north, say that's the thing that you want, and then your journey along the way is miserable, that stinks. Why not have a fun journey? Because then whether the true north happens or not doesn't matter, because you had fun along the way, right? Yeah. I heard something once, you can't have a happy ending to a sad, I'm probably not going to say it right, but it was to the effect of like, you can't have happily ever after if you are miserable along the way to get there. Like, it's just not possible. You have to be happy before you even get to that happily ever after. Does that make sense? I know that's getting kind of out there. Oh yes, I was reading this earlier, and remember how I came to you guys recently for my favorite retreat center up on the lake? So the building that I was in actually has a special room that Georgia O'Keeffe, the American artist, it stayed there back in the 20s, you know, and so I mean 100 years ago, right? It says, and so there's a story here with Georgia O'Keeffe. One day in 1923, the artist Georgia O'Keeffe came to the same conclusion. Quoting her, she says, I found myself saying to the world, I can't live where I want, I can't go where I want, I can't do what I want, I can't even say what I want. I decided I was a very stupid fool not to at least paint as I wanted to. That seemed to be the only thing I could do that didn't concern anybody but myself. So that reminds me of the last entry about creative pursuits. So whether anybody ever sees the paintings you're doing or singing or writing or whatever it is you're doing for your creative outlet, nobody should be able to say anything about it unless you put it out there, and then you're just asking for feedback. But if you're feeling like you don't have control over all the things like Georgia felt, then maybe you can find something like that you do have control over. Yeah. Sarah says, we may not all be able to paint like Georgia O'Keeffe, who found splendor in bare bones and desert sands as well as flowers, but we can certainly learn to follow her example, one day at a time, to carve out time for rewarding reveries that acquaint us with our authentic selves, and give us glimpses of our true north. So in that respect, that makes me think that she's saying that maybe the true north is our authentic self too. So if we're thinking about the journey as like getting there to oneness with yourself, or God maybe even, then you want to carve out time for those rewarding reveries that acquaint you and get you closer to that vibration. It's during our expectant hours, she says, those hours that might once have been called idle, that we're most pregnant with our own potential. What about that? Wow. That's pretty cool. And we are going to be talking more about the solitude and the stillness and how that is sometimes where you find yourself. She says this skill, the soul craft of devoting, caring for our authentic selves, rarely comes naturally or easily. But with practice, with patience, with perseverance and prayer, it does come. What do you guys think about that? I was also thinking with this entry about the movie The Patriot with Mel Gibson. It was a Revolutionary War time movie, and his wife who had died had a necklace with the North Star in it, and he gave it as a gift to his son's new wife. So I was thinking of that too. I'm definitely going to make a point to go out and look for the North Star tonight. Hope you do too. I hope you give some thought to the destination and the journey, and filling the journey with more of what aligns with the destination, right? Pre-paving the way. There's so many ways you can do that. I hope this one has really given you some food for thought. I'll be back on the next video as we are continuing our talk about solitude and making time for quiet and solitary pursuits and why it's so important. So I will see you then. Thank you for leaving me a comment. I love reading them. Ooh, there's a comment. And give me a thumbs up if you like the video too. I always appreciate that. Thanks so much. Big love to you all, and I will see you next time.